my mama and her sisters, they were all, well, if you ask them, what's all that stuff in your house? They would have said, we collect things. And they did. They collected all kind of things. Depression era people, don't throw anything away. It's worth keeping. We'll find something to do with it. My mother had the largest collection of plastic bread bags in the southeastern United States. She'd get down to that last heel in the loaf there and pull that out and take it out to the Frigidaire and put butter down one side, turn it around, put blackberry jelly down this side and fold it up, stick that in her mouth, and then she'd take that bread bag out in the yard and empty the crumbs into her bird feeder. Then she'd take that bread bag down to the basement and flatten it out over her aproned thigh and carefully place it down. She had two sawhorses and a 4x8 sheet of plywood. She neat stacks. She must have had 9,000 bread bags. And each stack held down by a parquet tub full of the little twisty things that hold the bread bags together. All her sisters were the same way. Just don't throw away anything. Well, now, when my mother passed away, it was up to me and my three brothers and our wives to go through my mother's stuff. Usually, you get everybody together like on a Friday night, and you have dinner somewhere. And the oldest one would stand up and say, all right, in the morning, here's what we're going to do. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. You go down and get breakfast, and you get somebody get those big plastic yard bags and all that stuff. And by Sunday evening, you got 3 stacks on the front porch. You got the Salvation Army. They're going to come Monday morning and pick all that stuff up, And you got, all those old blankets and quilts that have got holes in them in one bag, and and the Salvation Army's going to come get them. My 3 brothers and our wives went through my mother's house 14 different weekends. Now, the big stuff, of course, had already been accounted for. I mean, if you'd gone and pulled the bed out from the wall and look on the back of the headboard, it had a piece of adhesive tape with somebody's name on it. Mama said I could have this bedroom suit. It was the minutia. Oh, my God. Oh, the minutia. Well, this went on about the first 3 weekends, and we were starting to flag. Just going through stuff, we had to go through every book on our bookshelves because you take a book and do that, nothing. Take a book and do that, put it in a stack. Take a book, and a $20 bill would fall out. Hiding money, depression people. Anyway, about the 3rd week, we were flagging pretty badly. Well, my youngest brother, Greg's wife, was a high school advanced chemistry teacher, one of those people. Everything written down in order by the book, So Tamara says, okay, we're starting to lose momentum here. I say that we start a contest to keep our interest up. At the end, on Sunday night, every weekend, the person who has found the most ridiculous thing that a person would save, the rest of us have to buy them supper at Shoney's down here at exit 44. Well, I thought, that sounds pretty good. So the next weekend we started out, and I was doing pretty good. I was looking around and finding stuff. Now we didn't draw. We drew pieces of furniture. We didn't draw rooms. I mean, you'd been in a guest room for 6 years. Just it took me one Saturday to go through the couch. I found enough change to put my niece through Appalachian State Teachers College for a quarter. It was wonderful. But now, this first weekend of the contest, I had drawn the dining room hutch. Now, the reason I was so excited about the dining room hutch is, now, y'all got that drawer where you live that you call the junk drawer, right? Everybody's got a junk drawer, and I can tell you what's in it. 10 ballpoint pens that won't write, a tape measure that won't go all the way back in. Got one of those. Squirt gun maybe without a stopper. Well, the reason I was so excited about it was my mother, Hutch, had 3 drawers about that big and then 3 drawers about that big. And every drawer that my mother had was a junk drawer. So I'm thinking with that much area to look, I can't lose. And then I'd forgotten that when I walked in there and looked, there were doors underneath that. And I thought, Lord, there could be a motorcycle tire under there, you know. So I thought, she had wrought iron. My uncle had made wrought iron drawer pulls for all her cabinets, and he had built her hutch and put those. So there's a nice pull handle on there. So I thought, well, I'll start at that little drawer over here, work my way across, and then I got those 3 big drawers down there, you know. So I grabbed the door. I was pulling it. I could hear stuff in there going, and I thought, oh, come on, baby. I got one foot up on one side, one up on the other, and I was leaned back on that drawer pulling on it. My brother John walked through and he said, are you learning to water ski? I said, why don't you go look for something somewhere else? And about that time, he went down the steps, and the drawer came up, and stuff just went, fell back down in the drawer, and I got up and looked. And right there on the top of the stack was the winning object. Half a toothpick. It gets better. Presentation. You know those little, they got little Ziploc bags about that big that you get like the pull string for a ceiling fan or something in? The toothpick was in a Ziploc bag. I thought, can't lose now. I was standing there and I was going, what am I going to have? Half a pound of ground round, baked potato, bacon bits, sour cream. And I was going over the Shoney's menu in my mind to see what I was going to get for my free supper, you know. And about that time, my sister-in-law, Tamara, you remember Tamara? Tight little Tamara, because she came down the steps. She said, do you realize you're talking to yourself? And I said, yeah. I'm going over the Shoney's menu in my mind to see what I'm going to have for my free lunch. She said, free? You think you're going to get free meal, huh? I said, darling, I can't lose. She said, you think not? And I said, nope. She said, what'd you got? I reached in my shirt pocket and I said, half a toothpick. She went, well, look at you, mister. Pretty good, pretty good, pretty good. I said, what do you mean pretty good? She said, oh, any other weekend, I'd say that. I said, what? She said, yeah, any other weekend, I think you probably would have had me. I said, what'd you draw? She said, the medicine cabinet. I said, yeah, what'd you find? She said, oh, just this. One of them skinny little girls, you know, tight blue jeans. She reached around and went, bottom half of a thermometer tube. I said, well, but I got the Ziploc bag in the toothpick here. And she said, yeah, listen. I said, what's in it? She went, a BB. I went, oh, I can't believe that. I think that's too close to call. We need another opinion on this. Well, about that time, my brother John's wife, Mary, came walking in. And I said, Mary, come here. I said, sweet little Mary. I said, Mary, what do you think? Which one do you think is going to win? She looked at each one of us and she went, that's too close to call. I don't think I could call a winner on that. And I don't think I'll have to either. Mary, what did you draw? She said, the guest room closet. I said, what was in there? She said, 87 pocketbooks. I said, show me an American woman that don't have at least 86 pocketbooks stashed somewhere. I said, what was in them? She said, nothing. Well, there was this. And she reached in her jeans and she pulled out a blue and white plastic tube of chapstick. I said, that's all you found? She said, that's it. I said, a tube of chapstick? You think a tube of chapstick's going to win? I said, I probably got 3 of them rolling around in the floor of my truck right now. She said, look at it. Yep, that's what you call a tube of chapstick. See there, blue and white. It says right there, chapstick. That's what you got, chapstick. She said, open it. What? She said, open it. Darling, you got yourself a tube of chapstick. She said, touch it. It had been refilled with Vaseline. Well, about that time, John, my brother John, come walking up out of the basement. And I said, Mary, show your husband your free supper there. She showed him a tube of chapstick with the Vaseline in it. He said, woo-wee, darling. He said, you know what I think we ought to do? I think we ought to split free supper. She said, this is the first thing I've ever won in my life. I think I'm going to enjoy my free meal all by myself. And John said, well, actually, I was talking about me splitting my free supper with you. We all looked at him and said, what did you draw? He said, the sewing machine. I said, the sewing machine? What did you find down there? And he had on his Levi jacket, and he just put his hand in his pocket and went, shk, 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 shk. And we were like, well, get it out. What is it? And he pulled it out. And you remember those little short Alka-Seltzer bottles? You remember the little short ones, the travel size? The blue cap on it. I said, what's in it? And he opened the cap, and he went, it's full of broken sewing machine needles. 37 and a half. And I'm thinking, I can just imagine my mother standing in the kitchen washing dishes one day, and the doorbell rings, and she goes to the door, and there's a gypsy standing on the front porch, and he says, good afternoon, madam. I was in the neighborhood repairing broken sewing machine needles. Wondered, did you have any? Well, I've still got that bottle of sewing machine needles. We live out at the foot of the South Mountains outside of Morganton, North Carolina. In our backyard, there's a mountain that starts to remind me of who I am and who my people are. When I built my studio where I write my stories and do my artwork and play my guitars, when I built that, I built a big picture window up on the second floor where my desk is and my drawing board, and there's no curtain on it. It's just open view of the mountain behind my house. And the only thing obscuring that view is that little bottle of 37 and a half broken sewing machine needles to remind me who I am. I wish I had my old truck back. The one I traded for that new Ford van. The radio didn't work and the windshield cracked. But the wheel just felt right in my hands. It took a 10-inch pair of vice grips to roll the driver's window up. But I miss that truck. I miss that truck. I've still got my first guitar, a pawn shop key and a cardboard case. But it made me friends and it opened doors. With the first 3 chords I learned to play. That old guitar's what put me on this road when I was a kid. I'm glad it did. I'm glad it did. Old things ain't always best. Sometimes it's best to go with new. But some old things become old friends, the kind you hate to lose. Old things are keys to memories, so keep the ones you can. Because the journey's where you're going, but it's also where you've been. One thing I still miss to this day, an old Levi jacket I once owned. It had the perfect fit and the perfect fade, because I washed it 13 times when I got it home. The little girl I met from Boston took that coat with one sweet kiss. It ain't her I miss. It ain't her I miss. Old things ain't always best. Sometimes it's best to go with new. But some old things become old friends, the kind you hate to lose. Old things are keys to memories, so keep the ones you can. Because the journey's where you're going, but it's also where you've been. I still got my high school yearbooks. Still got my glove from Little League. And at home I've got a picture of Bill Monroe and me. But the thing that means the most to me is my mama's wedding band. It's on my wife's left hand. I'm a lucky man. Old things ain't always best. Sometimes it's best to go with new. But some old things become old friends, the kind you hate to lose. Old things are keys to memories, so keep the ones you can. Because the journey's where you're going, but it's also where you've been. Thank you very much.